Here we go. Yeah.
Dear white people, I am not your Negro. Yeah, black people, y'all just got your hero. All these rap demons, I'm about to depot. Me and Asada, my ATL and alter ego. The Queen of Sheba and Musa Kita, producer heater. Salute your teacher, my newest seed is a future leader. A testament of my evolution to excellence. To be or not to be human, that's what the question is. I'm still the answer regardless. Rappers is moving targets. Acknowledge me as the smartest passenger moving forward. My little sister bars blast like Kalishnikov. Just because heavy bass dance like Barishnikov. The sound pierce like bullets and swords from a nation under attack like bulletin boards, and I'm repping the foundation to the fullest, of course. Today another life was lost and it could have been yours, whether in Colorado or Collie Park. You but a mile apart from the sharpness of my remarks. The black oligarch making weaponry out of art. My supplier, soul messiah, told me we gotta talk. I walk through the dark. Now do I roll deep or do I hold heat? Now am I laid back or a control freak? Rocking the crown, gilded in gold leaf. I'm from a place where the people dream but don't sleep.
You are now tuned in to the classics. This fine art leaders work to the masters. Ain't met a man or woman yet, cause it passes. Cheers to the slaughter era, bow your head and raise your glasses. You are now tuned in to the classics. This fine art leaders work to the masters. Ain't met a man or woman yet, cause it passes. Cheers to the slaughter era, bow your head and raise your glasses. Look, I don't wanna keep this dialogue alive, but they still don't know I'm out for blood, I'm not surprised. I keep my fangs well hidden behind a model smiles. And this tyrannical grammar stay italicized by design. I'm emphatically beast over every domain. I surveilly prey in states of paralysis with my rabbit eyes. And me and thought together, portrait of the worst fears. The darkness come to light when two leviathans is fraternizing. My stock splinted from God's innards to moral cynicism. Till every mob within yards beyond penitence. Squad minute for meanest demeanor and Lauren lyrics. We both guard dinner tables and squat like Salon's titular album. Homie, I'm scripture embodied. Holy 16, so the fiend, the redeemer. Picture of pious quoting my verses like I'm second coming. That's just one way that I've been heard described. I'm old bottle across with Tupac and the causes. All eyes on me when I occupy space immersed in white. Cause I'm lit like a 7-day. My third eyelid stay wide open like it's broken.
Liking
It's
it.
unsettling. It's a high risk going up against my pedigree. As black thoughts and rock the ibis in his pedaway. You are now tuned in to the classics. This fine art leaders work to the masters. Ain't met a man or woman yet, cause it passes. Cheers to the slaughter era, bow your head and raise your glasses. You are now tuned in to the classics. This fine art leaders work to the masters. Ain't met a man or woman yet, cause it passes. Cheers to the slaughter era, bow your head and raise your glasses. The atom split a dogmatic, enigmatic figure. Dwell in shadow, then emerge when my genetics triggered. The sleeping giant, the ether supplier, keep them wired. So in every verse hit this circuit, you make repeat required.
Fired a live round out of the cartridge. The foul words written on parchment. High and exalted, police and fire department. Main culprit, a glimmer in the eye of the target. The mind of a marksman.
The word source was preferred source of that black magic. The same orifice that fame voiceless and spat acid. The dream eater, the green reaper, 16 killer. The sonic boom with an MC and Elohim
The
meter.
sight for the grim reaper, the gatekeeper, the late creeper, the street sweeper that think deeper, the complete speaker, the Svengali. Went from reefer in the alley to freaking with a Somali on the beaches of Malawi. Now we the luminary, the heavy pituitary. Knew it very early on. I be the legendary, hottest inside of my vocabulary, contemporary. Personally autographing every obituary. We are.
You are now tuned in to the classics. This fine art leaders work to the masters. Ain't met a man or woman yet, cause it passes. Cheers to the slaughter era, bow your head and raise your glasses. You are now tuned in to the classics. This fine art leaders work to the masters. Ain't met a man or woman yet, cause it passes. Cheers to the slaughter era, bow your head and raise your glasses. The Black Renaissance.
The Black Renaissance. All right, family. Before I go on any further, I gotta stay within the tradition customs of African people. I am 44 years young. Whoever has been on this earth plane longer than that, may I officially start tonight's program.
You have permission to commence.
Thank you very much. So let me go on and reveal myself. Thank you, Baba Keidi Awadu. All right, family, friends, distinguished guests, welcome to Grasshopper Speaks Building with the Master Teachers. It is I, Grasshopper the Griot, or the J-Lay. I also go by Minister Pianki Amin Ra. I also use my government name periodically, William Marshall Dow II, and I also go by Little KB, named after my spiritual father, Baba KB, and William Marshall Dow I, who I'm named after. That is my grandfather. May both of those great men rest in eternal spirit, power, and peace. As a matter of fact, today, family, which is February the 15th, 2024, according to the Western or Gregorian calendar, and that is in correspondence with the ancient Egyptian or Kemetic calendar or Temerian calendar, which is 6,264. Family, friends, distinguished guests, welcome to the 7th millennium. I want to give a shout out and pay homage to my spiritual father, Baba KB, peace be upon him. Today marks the year when he made his transition, February the 15th, 2023, 7:14 a.m. That's when he ascended to be with the realm of the ancestors. So I want to give him his proper due diligence and proper respect. I shade to Baba KB, the Black Magnificent One. Peace be upon him. All right, family. Today we have a very powerful program for you today. One of my favorite people on this ensemble that we call life, a person who's a polymath, a person who's been doing research for well over probably 50 decades, probably more than that. You know, definitely for a significant amount of time now. He's a vegan chef. He's a researcher. He's a futurist. He's a master teacher. He's a polymath, make no mistake about it. And he's a multi-genius superlative one at that. He's an author too, though, of over 40 books. I don't know, I lost count, but he's author of some wonderful books that I have my truth brary. This is one book right here, the Kujichagulia Village, a practical plan towards for self-determination, a very wonderful and pragmatic, practical book. Another book that is very audacious and very wonderful is the Repairing, this book right here, a book dealing with the real intricacies of economics and real dynamics as it relates to, what do you call it, reparations. So this is a wonderful book as well, and by yours truly. And this book right here, Furiously Vegan, another powerful book. As I aforementioned, he's a nutritionist, a vegan chef, so he's also have a wonderful practical plan here on ways to really restore your youthful vitality. So family, he's no stranger to this program. He's been with us before. He gave a lot of pearls of wisdom. He's back. He's Black. We're continuing our series on discipline, and he's gonna give us some good food for thought, nourishment for the soul, and fruit for the spirit. Family, friends, distinguished guests, without any further delay, give it up for the one, the only, Baba, Master Teacher, Keidi Awadu. Welcome, Baba.
Greetings. Asante sana midase p. Thank you very much for beautiful introduction. Thank you for the invitation. I always enjoy these forums when I'm able to tune in with it. You had some absolutely spectacular scholars over the course of this entire series. And to be invited Black again is, of course, an honor of the highest degree. Thank you for keeping the introduction fast moving and brief. Sometimes a person can give you an introduction that becomes the first lecture of the evening. And so that is much, much greatly appreciated. If you don't mind, I'm going to share screen right now. And we're going to go right to the PowerPoint. I'll need you to...
I got you. That's right now.
Okay. I'm going to, let's try this one more time. I'm going to share screen. And we're going to go up to my PowerPoint slideshow, and you can confirm with me as you see the show on your screen.
Yes, sir. The power of group discipline. Yes.
The power of group discipline. This is, of course, on the theme of Kujichagulia, self-determination. Our agenda, plus our health, plus our investments equal our future. So let's go right into this presentation for the evening. I'm going to move at somewhat a rather quick pace, but you let me know if we are right on time. And we're going to, of course, leave plenty of time for Q&A at the end of the presentation. This was a program that I did this morning on my broadcast. I've been webcasting now. This is our 23rd year. And we're doing the best we can to focus our people on our inherent competitiveness, our inherent capabilities, skills, talents, the ways that we are defining our own future. But sometimes we have to step back and assess ourselves. So the theme on the table, did we abandon the Garvey mission? What kind of world have we created for our children and future generations? So I'm not going to dwell on that directly, even though you will see these themes of this morning's broadcast did make it into the program today.
Hey, Baba Keidi,
Yes.
can you look for the waiting room? Some people are trying to get in. I don't know if they're in the waiting room or not.
Just pause a little bit.
No. In the waiting room, you're the host, so you can let people in.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You're the host.
You
I made you
can,
the host.
you made me the host. I think I can make you co-host. Let me do that. Let me admit everyone who's coming in, and then I'm going to make you co-host. Okay, I made you host, and I'm still, oops, it's not allowing for us to host at the same time.
No, it's okay. You can be the host.
Okay.
Look out for the people coming in. That'd be great. Appreciate it.
All right. Yeah, usually it will have the ability to make co-host. I'm going to have you enable me to screen share one more time, and then I'll see if I can I'll keep a window open so I can see people coming in, and then I'll see if I can make you co-host as well. How's that?
Sounds like a plan, Baba. We're here for you. It's all good.
All right. And we are screen sharing. You see my screen? And I'm going to click on this and should be able to make you co-host. And it's not doing that, but that's okay. I'll just keep this window open and look out for people checking in. So here we go. This presentation on Kujichagulia Villages was originally put together in 2001. So there is a bit of a time capsule that the first part of this presentation is going to share today. I left it this way because I wanted to see how were we thinking 23 years ago in looking at what we would be experiencing 2 decades and more later. So the question, in what context will Africans in Western countries be operating? This question arises in 2001, and here are some of the responses. Bear with me here. Okay. Major social changes are occurring due to increased desperation and reactivity of a global white domination system intent on surviving their demographic disadvantage and decline. That's a very important point. Questions from 2001. A countering global trend toward the indigenization of groups into their own distinct customs and cultures. What context? We are living the clash of civilizations and the remaking of world order, along with the global reset. That's been introduced even more recently. But the clash of civilizations, we've known about that paradigm since the early 1990s. We can expect accelerated environmental degradation, and that prediction from 2 decades ago appears to be quite accurate. Number 5, the Yurugu paradigm, which is the Asili of white domination and violence, needs to be replaced by Ma'at values led by an empowered vanguard. And another question from 2 decades ago, or another comment, prediction, Blacks are forced to compete as a group while being disadvantaged due to mismanagement of resources by externally selected, quote, Black leaders, unquote. So let's go forward. Let's pull this apart. We love this word, Kujichagulia, self-determination, as defined in the Nguzu Saba by Dr. Malana, to define ourselves, name ourselves, create for ourselves, and speak for ourselves. We strive to recover, repair, and rejuvenate a large part of our people's global position, resource management, land development, and human resource potential. All of this amounts to self-determined reparations. a word which has come to symbolize the complete restoration of a people toward their historical greatness. According to many years of reparations work from many organizations and individuals, this requires recovery, repair, and rejuvenation in 9 major areas of our collective status. And of course, you do have your book, The Repairing, which goes deep in chapter 2 of what are these 9 areas of self-determined reparations. Throughout all of our processes, we are calling for highly motivated people with skills and resources. Significant economic, cultural, and social challenges have emerged, particularly within our communities, threatening our group's ability to project its strength. Yet, strong common needs persist for clean water, wholesome food, sustainable economics, security, education, and optimal health. Our vision is that within the controlled environment of Kujichagulia Villages, supported by binding connections to urban communities, we can significantly reduce the gap between securing what we so badly need and that which has been in a downward spiral in recent decades. We would be best to build in the spirit of self-determination. Accordingly, the best way that we can accomplish this strategic vision is by coordinating a critical mass of talented and creative people to work together to create a transforming cultural environment. Within the villages, we all learn to replicate the values that brought people together at the dawn of civilization, where we shared surplus within the community for economic freedom and security. That's how societies were initially formed. And we must return to these traditions at this time to protect and defend ourselves from the increasingly hostile environments within these stressed out cities. We can and must call upon values our ancestors utilized to spark the very foundation of human civilization. Collective work and responsibility equals umoja, unity. The Swahili word kujichagulia, self-determination, symbolizes a powerful tool to transform hostility and dependency into a dynamic energy that will propel us firmly toward a new destiny. This challenges us to engage in practical actions with predictable outcomes consistently. Our talents and experiences must be redirected into behaviors capable of serving the group's self-interest. Time is not expected to be kind to us if we delay forging the base for our liberation. Each of us has a critical part to play in this process of reparations. Black people, African people, it is time to see yourself as the best in the world. This is your sacred mission. Yet we're dealing with the reality of contemporary culture. There is a battle going on. We're going to talk a little bit later about this thing called game theory and recognize the nature of this battle. This is a word I believe I coined. It's called disculturosis, which is in essence conforming to a degenerate culture. And this was a recent broadcast program talking about this reshaping of cultural values to where we see so many people now latching upon new values that have actually been synthetically manufactured, created, and promoted through mass media. Ultimately, when comparing these two concepts of sexy fat versus sexy fit, I would like to think that in our right minds, we would choose to pursue the pathway of sexy fit. Ultimately, what makes Beyonce such an inspiring figure when it comes to health and wellness is her lifelong commitment to taking care of herself, both mentally and physically. By prioritizing nutritious foods and regular exercise, as well as self-care practices like meditation, she sets an example for others looking to orchestrate their best lives. Now, I'm not going to pile on to the other sister in the image whose name escapes me right now. Please help me out. I'm not going to, because it has been making some changes. I'm sorry, I'm not that a big fan of pop culture.
Lizzo.
Lizzo, thank you. I didn't want to mispronounce it and say something offensive to gender compromised people. Lizzo. But she's trying now. She does see that she's much too young to be obesity class 3, which means she's on a death track, an immediate death track. And we're going to salute her as well for seeing a greater potential for herself. Let's go forward. Let's look at Africa for the future. You're going to hear me talking a lot, and I do speak quite a bit about the scientifically engineered society. How to ascend from the Yurugu mindset to Ma'at on a global scale and start to build for permanence inside this Ma'at value system. We're talking about Afrofuturism, bridging the past and the future. This was another recent broadcast we did on LIB Radio, Afrofuturism, bridging the past and the future. Afrofuturism is a genre of creative fiction that allows us to envision the future based on our current and past experiences. We look forward to the year 2051 with the creation of a continental union and the global potential that lies ahead. And 2051 is not that far away, but it's going to be a rocky and thrilling journey between here and there. We love this concept. We love these African paradigms. This one, Sankofa, from the Ashanti Adinkra system. Sankofa, it is not taboo to return to the past, to retrieve that which has been lost toward building a future. What we have lost, we now determine is indispensable for our survival. Sankofa. These include culture. There appears to be no record of any people throughout history who have successfully projected themselves as a viable culture that have similarly abandoned family commitment. By attaching to a foreign culture, the so-called Stockholm Syndrome, Afri-Amers have voluntarily signed on to their own annihilation. We talk about agroeconomics. These are functions of the Kujichagulia Villages projects. These are functions of self-determination, and these are all functions that will be manifest through self-discipline, applied individual and community discipline. Discipline builds great things. Over hundreds of years, the value of Black labor built the most powerful agricultural economy that modern history has recorded throughout North and South America and the Caribbean. What Black labor has done to build wealthy and powerful nations can be replicated for our well-being. We can use Black labor to build these villages, to make these powerhouses of competition, cultural competition, economics competition. We can also take our responsibility to build our village with our own hands, our own creative minds. We've often heard the phrase, it takes a village to raise a child. Yet we must keep in mind it takes children to raise a village. We are the children and grandchildren of a hardworking and once proud and dignified people. We must build upon the legacy of this noble inheritance, Kujichagulia Villages. And some of you who follow my social media page, my Facebook page, have seen a number of these images now. We are actually putting together a massive team, a collective, to build villages that look just like this. We have builders on the ground with experience, engineers, CAD drawings, these computer-assisted drawings. We can do this. We can study and learn how to make these out of mud and bricks and steel and stone. And also, if you look at the roofs, many of these roofs are covered by photovoltaic panels, which within the next decade, African people on our mother continent will be manufacturing our own solar panels. We have to go there. We have no choice in order to survive and compete. Health and wellness. Too many people in our group have resigned to poor health as if it were the inevitability of aging, or perhaps the divine will of a supreme creator. What people must realize is that chronic illness is the return on investment over a lifetime of impoverishing lifestyle choices. So this, from the series of drawings I've done about the villages, this is what a village sunrise looks like. Those of us who do our morning exercise or go out, do our running, be joined by community, by our peers. We will see our elders observing our activities, including this elder here selling us fresh morning teas and organic juices produced at our own village farms. We are an imagination unleashed. Let's now begin to build once again on our own imagination. This is a call to action. This is a serious call to action. This is one of the books I released in 2023, my best publishing year ever. This one, Big Up Manhood, rites of passage to reclaim masculinity and restore bio-integrity. A key hallmark of a big up man is that his efforts have included lifting others toward their greater potential. Such a person creates those elements necessary for life's very basics. His work may include industry, creativity, science, education, security, sustenance, communication, group organizing, and leadership. Our big up man example is often an employer, a healer, an author, or someone who stands out as an example of what the community recognizes as disciplined, loyal, and imaginative. All the big up men in the house, raise your hand or make some noise. Let the world know you see yourself as a type of man which his wife, his significant other, his girlfriend, his community, his children, his siblings can trust us to be responsive, to be able to secure, sustain those who depend on us as they have done since the dawn of human civilization. Now, let's start thinking about producing the next generation. This is another one of these panels from 2001, from 2 decades plus ago. And this is what the headlines were saying right now. I'm going to show you this in context. California's future population growth may be less than expected, study finds. Points from the article, San Francisco, California, August 2001. US-born children of immigrants will likely have substantially lower birth rates than their parents. And this birth pattern could significantly lower population growth projections for the state, according to a new study released today by the Public Policy Institute of California. Boy, I could load up a whole lecture of what has happened since that prediction. The study, entitled New Trends in Newborns, Fertility Rates and Patterns in California, found that during the amnesty-driven immigration boom of the late 1980s and early 1990s, almost half of all births in the state were to foreign-born mothers. Birth rates for Hispanics were particularly high, and notice that they don't distinguish when they're doing these census measures between Hispanics and Afro-Latinos. But the reality is a significant number of those Hispanics we know as Afro-Latinos, perhaps as much as 25% of them. Birth rates for Hispanics were particularly high, with an average of 3.5 children per woman, compared to an average of 2.0 children for African American and Asian and Pacific Islander women, and 1.5 children for non-Hispanic white women. Well, those numbers have changed very dramatically in 2 decades, to where now ours was almost exactly at replacement rate in this 2001 study. Now African American total fertility rate has dipped to 1.56, the lowest that's ever been measured for our people in world history. Whereas for white women, theirs stabilized at slightly around 1.5, maybe slightly lower. Hispanic women, non-designated, whether they're Afro-Latino or not, are the only group inside of America that has a replacement fertility rate at this point. Going forward, demographics matters. Another article from that era, California's future population growth may be less than expected. The study continues. I think that's a panel that's repeated the second time. My apology. So we fast forward 20 years to the book Fade to Black and re-enter this idea of demographics. And in the chapter entitled Eugenics, Genocide, and Race Suicide, I share the following facts. Over the past century and going into hyperdrive is the impact of the decriminalization of abortion with the 1973 Supreme Court decision in Roe versus Wade. Initial reluctance on the part of the Black community to accept the abortion practice has drastically flipped. Now it is established fact that in certain cities, most Black pregnancies end up in abortion, a practice that I refer to as infanticide. Adoption and advocacy of abortion among Afro-Americans has killed off the unborn at such a sustained rate that 1/3 of the should-be current population of Blacks in the U.S. have been exterminated. This missing element would comprise the youngest cohort for our group. Blacks have served up an estimated 22.27 million pregnancies to abortion since 1973, half of which would have been female, thus eliminating a family in the next generation. Cumulatively, this amounts to between 34 to 42 million children's lives interrupted due to abortions to Afro-American women. And don't ignore the fact that this was the target of the infamous Negro Project, and that despicable Uruguay face is Margaret Sanger, the founder of the Birth Control Society, which later changed its name to Planned Parenthood. She was a notorious anti-African eugenicist. Going forward, Fade to Black demographics left at the altar of abortion. If we only consider the number of abortions to Blacks in their diaspora nations of habitation, abortion itself would indicate the most significant demographic injury to the group, whether self-inflicted or put upon us by hostile external antagonists. As this pattern continues with an additional 310,000 abortions to the group each year on average, there's no chance of surviving this fertility crash beyond the next 45 years. Our national reality at this point will be a small, aged population of Blacks with an insufficient familial network of children and grandchildren to sustain healthy upkeep for their senior community. The hazardous nature of this collapse is catastrophic. And this is happening in real time. I'm from the baby boomer generation. My generation of people are aging out and dying off, and I'm witness to it. I've lost so many friends and allies. And in theory, the number that of my peers dying off prematurely increases every year. And we haven't had a plan to deal with this. Fade to Black demographics left at the altar of abortion. Again, sorry about that, but I repeated the panel. Let's go forward, because I meant to put in some other data on that particular panel. When we compare the outrageous condition of police shootings to the internecine violence, which is brothers killing brothers, when we compare it to death at the hands of medical institutions and then death at the hands of abortion, here's what I wrote in the book Fade to Black on page 68. Yet the reactionary national response to this unacceptable trend, and that's police killings, is vastly disproportionate to the toll of other policies that disrupt the lives of Blacks in the U.S. each year. Compared to nationally reported killings of our group members by law enforcement actions, each year, Blacks kill others of our group at a ratio of 8.85 Black on Black killings to 1 by the police. Compared to law enforcement killings, bad medical practices called iatrogenics kill Blacks at a ratio of 585 to 1. Abortion kills Blacks at a ratio of 1,067 to 1 every year within the United States. That's compared to police shootings. Abortion kills at the rate of 1,087 to 1, 1,067 to 1. We should be absolutely outraged. Now, you and I had a brief conversation today, King Pianki, and I was talking about this idea of what's called game theory. Game theory is in effect. What is game theory? A theoretical framework for conceiving social situations among competing players. It's all about competition, competing players. Game theory is essentially the science of strategy, aiming to produce optimal decision-making of independent and competing actors in a strategic setting. We got this reference from Adam Hayes writing in Investopedia, March 2023. Let's go deeper into this idea of game theory. This is a very important concept. All of us should know. Key terms used in this idea of game theory. Game, any set of circumstances that has a result dependent upon the actions of two or more decision makers, the players. Players, a strategic decision maker within the context of the game. The game is a competition. 3, strategy, a complete plan of action a player will take given the set of circumstances that might arise within the game. Payoff, the payout a player receives from arriving at a particular outcome. The payout can be in any quantifiable form, from dollars to utility. Now, understanding this is simple, but it is ubiquitous. We witness this every day, not realizing it's a game. Had we read this very important book by Zbigniew Brzezinski, The Grand Chessboard, he talks about the game theory on a global basis, American primacy and its geostrategic imperatives. That's talking about the game, the players, the strategy, and the payoff, just in that title and subtitle of the book. The game. What is the nature of the game? Rule number one on this planet, survival of the fittest. Rule number one, survival of the fittest. Who are the players? Team A consists of a global population of African descended people. The totals as of about a week ago on this planet, 1,679,634,141. And whether you recognize that as not or not, that makes us as African people the number one population on this planet, higher than Indians, which the country of India is said to be the most populous, followed by the country of China. But if you look at their diaspora communities, both of them, their diaspora communities going into 3 generations only consist of about 45 to 50 million people. Whereas our global diaspora is much closer to 200 million, and according to some predictions, could very well have already exceeded that and approaching 300 million global Africans. The game. Who are the opposing team? Again, the players. The opposing teams include competitive civilizations, hostile governments, and corporate imperialism. We could make a long, long list of who opposes us, who is competing with us for survival of the fittest on this planet. What is the grand strategy in the game? Continuing, renewing, or expanding exploitive control over African bodies, their lands, material resources, skills, and talents in perpetuity, to control us, our lands, our resources, skills, and talents forever, at least for the next 500 years. What is the payoff? The winners will be expected to rise to the apex society, the status of apex society on Earth for the next 500 years and beyond. Have we been thinking in 500-year strategies as African people in America? No, we have not. Many people challenge me for thinking in a 45-year projection into the future. When in the 45 years that I projected in the book, Fade to Black, I projected the outcome of the current trajectory is we will essentially disappear as a group. There'll be a few old ones around. There'll be a bunch of museums talking about our stuff, and you're going to see a bunch of Korean and other B-boys talking about how they pioneered and developed rap and the protocols of hip-hop. Don't think that these people won't steal everything we've done. That's what they've consistently done since the dawn of time. Going forward, we're right on time. So the future belongs to those best prepared to create that future today. Wherever you are, let me see your lips move. Let me hear you say that. Let's see you say that. The future belongs to those best prepared to create that future today. Game theory. Towards this end, we have found numerous practical tools all along the way. This is a tool I found in the book, 1957 book by Vance Packard, and entitled, and let me make sure everybody got in. Yeah, okay. Yeah, just let me know if you see people trying to get in and I missed them. And Manifester, your microphone is open right now. So this tool is the formula for social engineering from the book, The Hidden Persuaders by Vance Packard, 1957. He quotes Virginia University professor Philip J. Allen. Sufficient financial backing for regular utilization of mass media constantly to communicate the desired objectives to the common man. New values can be deliberately created, disseminated, and adopted as personal and collective goals, highly desirable of achievement. But the concerted effort of the major social institutions, particularly the educational, recreational, and religious, must be enlisted with the ready cooperation of those in control of the mass media. By utilizing the various tested devices, our modern genius in advertising may alight upon simple phrases, well organized in sequence and timing, and coordinated with the other efforts geared to realize the grand design, the grand game theory strategy. But there are required a host of laborers with plenty of financial backing. We are the laborers. We spend the money as consumers. Now it is time to take another tack on the future, change directions, and secure a much better outcome. So let's put up strategies to win the game. And it will require self-discipline at a level as great or greater than every generation that has preceded us during the 21 generations of our great suffering, the Ma'afa. Our discipline at this time must be greater than ever. Number one, rallying our remaining forces. I did this study this morning talking about where did they all go? And I listed about 16 places. Where did the Pan-Africans and the Black nationalists and the pro-Blacks, where did they go? And we lost a whole bunch of them. Now the ones who remain, we must rally. Number two, forge a vanguard leadership, a cutting edge leadership. Number three, we must figure out a way to fund our strategic plans, our strategic activities. Number four, we must continue, and we must improve seeking allies outside of our current loyal core members. We've got to expand this group of people. Number five, instigate a communications initiative. Example given, virtual town hall meetings such as this, conferences, as well as creating nonstop propaganda to bolster our vision. Number six, we must reverse this decline in literacy that is plaguing our people, plaguing our younger generations. When we gave up reading books, and I'm from the baby boomer generation, we saw the turnaround. We did it. We failed. We own up to that responsibility. Those of us that are left, those of us that are still sane, those of us that have not gone down the road of substance abuse, poisoning ourselves and making our brains dysfunctional. We own up to the fact of the terrible mistakes we made that we passed on to the Generation X, who piled on and passed on even greater mistakes to Generation Y. And now Generation Y are raising children, Generation Z. And this is a hint of what it will be looking like after 45 more years of the serious decline when the Generation Z become grandparents to the very few births left. Number seven, we must recruit younger members for key leadership. Every generation must not only produce these vanguard leaders, but they must also recognize, realize, and take advantage of the fact that they're standing on the shoulders of the generations that come before. And number eight, we must build upon the themes of Kujichagulia Villages and urban innovation zones. Tangible, strategic investments and construction to where large numbers of our people will gather to collaborate, cooperate, share resources, and build that which will allow us, our team, to win the game. So much of what I've shared with you today is in the body of books that I write. And I'm very, very proud to be an author. King Pianki, in his beautiful and brief introduction, mentioned the fact that sometimes it's hard to remember how many books I have out. I had to go back and recount them again at one point, and now there are 53, including these 10 books that came out in the year 2023. It was a good year, but this year I've paused writing. I had literally 11 more books queued up, even the covers design, powerful themes. But I stopped writing because I have to concentrate on getting these books read and getting the plans of action that are in these books into motion. So I encourage everybody to go to the website, Keidi, KEIDI.biz. You'll see links to my books and see my catalog there. And then you and I and others who believe like us will have the chance to get together, collaborate, cooperate, share resources to build that vanguard that we talked about is so critically needed. And to see ourselves now rise once again to a pinnacle society and restore Ma'atian order to this beautiful water-covered pearl of a planet we call the great mother goddess, Ma'untur. Ashe, Ashe, Ashe-yo.
Shayo to that. All right. Yes, Baba Keidi Awadu. Thank you very much for that wonderful, wonderful, powerful PowerPoint presentation. You broke down a lot of things, man. It was like a college course you gave. You definitely pricked our level of consciousness and awareness, what you broke down from a plethora of levels. So I definitely want to thank you for that well informative and well broken down PowerPoint presentation. Thank you very much, Baba.
Ashe.
Indeed. Well, family, friends, if you guys want to have any questions, definitely feel free to get in on the action and give questions to our master teacher, Baba Keidi Awadu, on the topic at hand, Kujichagulia the Village. Oh, we got one right here, the one and only First Lady, the one and only Manifester, aka Koshana Quay Loves Jones Dow. Yes, what do you have for Baba Keidi Awadu?
Greetings, Baba.
Greetings, beloved.
I was going to, first off, your presentation was excellent and very informative. I liked how you delivered it from the past to where we are today, what predictions came to pass, what things are being foreseen in the future. I hear that from a lot of the examples you gave, from our diet to other examples that you were given, they seem to relate to being self-disciplined.
Mm-hmm.
And I was asking last week, you weren't on the call, but I brought this up to Baba Ahmadi as well, asking, because I've worked on groups for a long time, and I've been doing group, hold on one second. I've been doing group economics for some years, and I've been doing just several different organizations. And last week, Reverend Ahmadi had brought up that the importance of us networking with each other. And I've heard that several times. And I remember at one point in my life where I really, really was so serious about that. Of course, I was younger, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, thinking, things would be wouldn't be too hard to organize. And then, of course, after, it's been over a decade for me that I've been physically every day, every Monday, every Sunday, every Thursday, organizing in the Black community, giving up almost over a decade of my life and a large percentage of my children's life to do group calls, to do classes, to do a lot of things. And then I've come to this fork in the road, I guess, in my own life, where I'm starting to wonder if it's more an internal job than an external job? Is it something that I need to do more internally within myself instead of working so hard to try to save the world? And the reason why I say that is because it's almost like you kind of you get so far, but then you can only go so far trying to change everyone else and trying to make everyone else follow the same beat. And in a realistic way, we can fantasize that everyone's going to do the same thing one day. We're all going to just unite. But, so I'm asking you, because what I hear you saying is it has a lot to do with self-discipline. So I still see that a lot of the things that you're saying point back to the self and doing work for ourselves, because, not having abortions is going to have to be a personal thing too. You're going to, as a woman, that's a choice that we're going to have to make as women and understand what it is to our community that we don't have abortions. So what I want to know is, do you think that we can, is it even possible to organize and network if we don't do our own mental healing?
Wow. That is the question of the hour. That's the question of the evening. Everything I laid out was all about that work of identity, that work of self-discipline, of realizing our skills and talents and everything has been accomplished. Yet, as your question strongly implies, moving to group discipline, collective work and responsibility is going to be almost impossible with selfishness, scattered individuals, weakened individuals, non-creative people, illiterate people that we are attempting to form a functional vanguard out of. So it is imperative that we get this thing called self together. This is why coaches like yourself, like King Pianki, like others in this circle, this is why coaches are so very, very valuable, because the presumption here is that the coach has done their work already. I am, as you mentioned, Brother King Pianki, I am a nutritional counselor. I help people, and I help people I try and do it on a daily basis, but several times a week, I and someone go deep into what is happening with their body and how I know as a fact that food is nature's most perfect medicine, but it requires not only my having acquired, built, and confirmed and continue to build this knowledge base, but it requires the person with which I am in consultation to take primary responsibility. Primary, meaning the foundation of the new transformed state. Primary self-discipline gets them moving forward on their new course, their new pathway. So yes, your question is the question of the hour, it's the question of the day. I can, but can we? Luckily, fortunately for us, we have African culture there to reinforce us all along the way. The African proverbs, such as, if you want to go fast, go single. If you want to go far, go as a group. African themes and proverbs, such as the theme, the mem of Ubuntu, one word, Ubuntu, which has multiple translations, but essentially comes down to I am because we are. And without the group, I cannot be. African memes and themes that we can latch upon, such as, if you follow an elephant through the forest, you will never become entangled. You will never lose your way. That's the symbol of strong leadership. So I love the question. I wish I could answer it more definitively. I will say this much, and I said this earlier. I am from this generation called the baby boomers. We inherited in this nation the best that Black people in any nation within the world have ever inherited. It's true. Yet at the same time, we saw it reverse itself to where our grandchildren are now giving birth to a generation that, according to the data and statistics, will not have a sustainable future. So therefore, I got to double down, triple down, quadruple down. As you know, I have even pledged I've got to live to be 125 plus years of age to get all the work done in this lifetime that I am intended to complete. So thank you for the question. I hope that everybody out there heard the question and took it personally, because without you, I cannot be Ubuntu.
Ubuntu. Yeah, that was an excellent question. I think it will definitely hit the mark with a beautiful arrow that she really laid it out there. And what you just explained was apropos as well, as it relates to collective discipline, as it relates to Ubuntu. Like the proverbs you said, I live by African proverbs and quotes. I dissect down and I make them applicable to my life. And how you broke it down as it relates to group discipline, I think that's something that we all can use in all of our practices and all of our endeavors. So thank you for that wonderful response to that question. Now I got a question too though that's kind of like in synchronicity what you was talking about. You said something. This is two questions, two-part question I should say. You said something towards the end of the program of your PowerPoint presentation that all the stuff you broke down from Kujichagulia to different statistics, all those great manufactured and scientific breakdowns, right? You said this generation, we got to be more disciplined. This group discipline, right? More disciplined than ever before, and more disciplined than the prior generations. Is that accurate?
Absolutely, beyond a shadow of a doubt. I wish I could go back in time and do a better job, because I look at my work from 30 years ago, and I was issuing these powerful warnings. You saw the predictions from 20 years ago and how now we're suffering because we didn't take these things seriously. So I wish I could go back and do a better job of informing the baby boomers. Don't go down that road. Don't let the corporations change your music from self-love, family love, community development, seeing ourselves as transforming the larger society. Don't let it turn that into grabbing your crotch and talking about she's so strange, and allowing the next generation, the rappers, the hip hoppers, the new young generation of urban griots, don't allow them to shift the culture. Don't allow them to take the value of the family out. Don't allow a con man, a character, a step and fetch it like Flavor Flav become a media mogul and a model for your young boys to see. Because eventually we start imitating those behaviors. We were so eager to see ourselves in movies that when the first Black exploitation films came out, we flocked to theaters. I didn't go. I was part of already the reggae Rasta culture. So that whole African-American degeneration bypassed me. I was very fortunate. And I didn't see Sweetback's Badass song until 30 years after it had been produced. It was supposed to be so revolutionary at the time. When I saw it, it was utterly, absolute garbage. I was on stage, not performing in the band, but doing a lot of backstage activities, and had access to the Mothership Connection tour by Parliament Funkadelic. And at the time, my people, my generation, we thought that was the heaviest, hippest stuff in the world. But I was a country boy. I couldn't relate. I saw what was happening. I saw young women being molested, gang assaulted, sexually assaulted, gang assaults by these so-called celebrities. I saw people die on their tours. At one point, I could have been in the band. But now I see it in context, and I see that George Clinton, this hero of Parliament Funkadelic, may have been one of the biggest mind control assets that MK Ultra ever produced. The Pied Piper of Black triviality and folly. We can do better than that. I am saying to the generation to follow, if you take my words as a wise and esteemed elder seriously, please, whatever discipline you see in my generation, step it up 2 notches. You can do this. I'm trying to prove you can do it. I need you to accept that responsibility. Someone had their hand up. I did not want to ignore anyone's inquiry.
Yes, thank you for saying. I do believe it was Rastafarian Mike. Yes, go ahead. We can't hear you. At least I can't hear you. I know about the others.
I don't hear anything.
I got you.
Can y'all hear? All right,
Can you hear me?
Yes.
There you go. Yes, sir. Yes, brother.
All right, so peace and blessings to everyone. I just wanted to speak on, piggyback on that communal mental health piece, because in New Orleans we're experiencing like this group mentality change, and I can't deny, man, I've seen some of the most culturally significant people here in New Orleans and the most ignorant of Black people that I could ever say I've seen in New Orleans. And they right beside each other, both knowing each other's knowledge, and now having to basically exit the negative and lean towards the positive. And it's a struggle. It's a mental health struggle, and we going about it in a group way here in New Orleans, and it's amazing to see happen, because I'm seeing brothers go from hardened criminal ignorance to embracing their African culture. Finally, in New Orleans, we probably express some of the most African ways and actions in our culture, but the mentality isn't there. Like, you'll see a brother from New Orleans second line like they're in Ghana, same cadence, same beat, same everything, but the mentality is not there. It's like, ask them, are they African? And they tell you, no, I'm not African, I'm Black. And I'm like, okay, well, listen, your Blackness comes from your African ancestry. But to say that is almost to spit in their face, seem like, because they have this hardened issue with Afrocentricity or embracing the African culture. What can we do to help with that group change, that group mental change? Brothers, I directed to the elder. Many blessings unto you. And Baba Keidi, what you say?
It's a wonderfully complicated question. And what you're pointing to is the consequence of the disculturosis, the decline in the integrity of cultures that have served our people for countless generations. We are an African people. We are ascended from an African people that had pride and dignity, and that strived all along our course of development, even during the most debasing periods, strived all along to give something better to future generations. Unfortunately, one of the things that we have given up to too great extent over that journey is literacy. And I think your question purported to the fact that we're arguing to make things better, to collaborate, cooperate in making things better. We're arguing against people who are too ignorant to understand why we have no other alternative than to rely upon our collectivity to make things better. And these, unfortunately, I'm sorry to say this, Ross Mike, unfortunately, ignorance is the new pandemic in the Black community, and that's what's got you frustrated, brother. But you are not ignorant. You have worked hard to educate yourself, to enlighten yourself, to wake yourself up. And I don't use the term woke because woke got hijacked by people who are hostile to us. And now the mere mention of the word woke is usually accompanied by an attack by these MAGA dogs and these so-called woke feminist-led liberals who hate your and my Pan-African Black nationalists and pro-Black destiny. They all pile up on us. So what do we do when we encounter African people who are unfortunately bought into their own inferiority? Do the best you can to give them sweet words, to give them words of encouragement. If they're talking about second line, then it is up to you and I to know something about the tradition of New Orleans jazz music and second line and give them a sense of pride that recognizes, yeah, we recognize those beautiful second line traditions as part of the funeral processes that take place in West African societies. We recognize the Ebonics linguistic patterns spoken by our people with these deep Louisiana and Mississippi dialects, we recognize them because they very strongly resemble the Gullah Geechee people off the Carolina Islands, who retain the absolute highest percentage of our indigenous African cultural paradigms, for which we are so very grateful to hear Ebonics in real time. But we're going to build bridges, and that's the key. We got to practice building bridges in this environment, in the diaspora, in the middle of the Ma'afa, the great suffering, in the middle of the hell, which is degenerating America. We got to practice bridge building here so that when we get to the real contest, the real front line of the game, you heard me talk about game theory. When we get to the real front line of the game, we will be experienced bridge builders. We will be experienced at rejuvenation, revitalization, reculturation. And last point I'll make on this, because woo, man, your question tapped into as you were asking it, I'm thinking, man, I want to pull 6 books off the shelf: Fade to Black, Paradigm Shift, Futurenomics, Forged by Fire. That's what you're talking about. Forged by fire. That's why your heart is hard and set on a pattern of redemption, because you were forged by fire. So what we're going to do is realize it's culture. Culture is, what is my name? What is our language? If we're only stuck in the Englishman's language, then guess what? Our dialogues are stuck in Englishman's logic, which is anti-African. Isn't that true? If we're stuck in his religion, be careful. I said this outright on my morning show today. If we're stuck in his religion, then mental health issues are our biggest challenge, because this religion has made us crazy. Let's be real honest with it. Those Abrahamic religions make us crazy. Why? Because we're not those people. We predated them by thousands of years. We had created all aspects of spirituality that served our character. Now we've debased and degraded to the Stockholm Syndrome and accepted his old castaway shoes as our Sunday go to meeting shoes. So we can do better than that. Religion, language, traditions, our historical perspective, our morals and values, and our logic, the 6 axioms of culture. That's in the book, Moving Beyond Racism. Culture is the New Paradigm. So once we have these tools handy, and that's why I write the books, all of the books are full of formulas and tool sets to put in the hands of a cutting edge vanguard like you, my brother. So excuse me for the length of that response. You can unmute yourself. I want to hear your follow-up. Excuse me for the length of that response, but your question, I'm not lying. Your question hit me right to my heart. As an elder to the community, I think I owe you better than an environment where the people who are supposed to be helping you are challenging your legitimacy. We can't have that. We can't have that.
Shay, brother, Ashe. I'm a scholar under you, Marie Cara, and everybody that was in, even Simsut Bisset, the people that were in Christ Unity at the time. We had a family that was unbreakable, and I left there with everything y'all gave me, and I pushed everything in New Orleans, and I get the pushback from the parent, not the kid.
Mm-hmm.
The kid is ready for the conscious reality, but the parent is like really almost too far gone to reach. It's like, man, it's so frustrating when the battle comes from in the home. So like at Christ Unity, we had like our after school things, and we would visit the home, and we can't do that in the public arenas and things, in charter school arenas. We can't go to the house like we used to do with Christ Unity and with Yo Watts and things that I worked with during that time. Say Yes to Life, mentoring, and the Kepara system that we had. It just all worked. So it's like with the parents stopping you from even getting the information to the kid, you have to end up infiltrating the house through the school, and then the kids bringing home this right knowledge, and the parents are starting to say, okay, that's what that dude be talking about. and yeah, that's what he be in there talking about. And you know, it comes back to me every other day, like, Mr. Bird, thank you for, you know, because I learned something from you that my kid told me about ourselves and about our culture and our genetics, you know, through science. And I'm like, yeah, the reality of the recessive gene and the dominant gene. And he was like, yeah, that's exactly what it was. Because, you know, when I get on that, I get to really plow into the anthropological side of it. And right now, it's like you said, the illiteracy factor, the fact that these parents haven't ever read books, you know, from 10, 20 years ago, that didn't know, don't know who Del Jones is, don't know what Urugu was, don't know who the enemy is.
That's right.
To know who themselves are, you know, on the battlefield. So it's just like, yeah, the illiteracy, the mental health piece, that's where we at right now. And
that's right.
The collective, which is working slowly.
That's right.
And
that piece that I inserted into the presentation speaks exactly to what you're going through. It's called game theory. Realize it's a contest, and we are contesting against hostile forces who are very well organized, and there are multiple hostile forces competing with you and I for an African future. They know by controlling African bodies and African culture, African land, African resources, they will be dominating on the planet for at least another 500 years. We want ours back so we can build for our children. So, brother, you have been well educated. I would say the next task in front of you, based on what I'm hearing, look for a neutral space. Find that neutral space and invite yourself, others who think like you, along with the children and their parents. Let's step into a neutral space. If we have to sit in a circle and everybody just speak until everyone's heard, so we know what we are here to do to create that will benefit these children. You've been well prepared. Now, get out there and get busy. Win the game.
Ashe. With your blessing, brother, with your blessing, I am. So more love and prosperity. Thank you for your time.
Ashe, and let's stay in contact. I am, because we are Ubuntu.
Ashe. Bob, I do have another comment or another, I don't know if it's a question. I guess it's kind of a question, but it's not really a question.
All right.
One of the things you mentioned was about planning for our future. And on the conversation we had last week, where we kind of left off on some notes that we knew that you would be good to pick up on. So one of the things that I spoke about was not wanting, for my personal desire, and this is me, I don't believe that in ancient Kemet they had any stories of human sacrifices or anyone having to be sacrificed. So I was saying that I don't want to carry a cross, climb up on the cross and sacrifice myself, not for anything, not even for the community. And I witnessed a lot of our leaders, a lot of our elders. I've seen them work until they had nothing left in them. I've witnessed them die without any money. You know, I've literally watched. I've had to like tell people to pay Mary Kara, you know, flat out, you know. So I watched that, and I'm just being honest. And so, you know, being a younger person and seeing where my path is leading me, that I don't have a desire to do that, right? I don't have a desire to have to be sacrificed in any way. And I don't believe that in ancient Kemet we had that story. I think that's more of a Christian ideology that we are starting to mimic, right? I have to be a sacrifice. But so it's kind of a two-part question. So one, you can comment on, I want you to comment on that a little bit, but I'm gonna finish what I'm saying first. I want you to comment on, is it necessary that we have to sacrifice ourselves for the community? Where our leaders, our prophets, our martyrs, sometimes they're even killed by their own. You have to be afraid that your own will turn against you. And then, but then you said something else. So then I had that last week. I said, you know what? If it's gonna be like that, I don't want it. I want to live happy in this lifetime, right? But then I thought about something. You know, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, a lot of the leaders who come and they die early, they usually don't see the benefits from their work, right? A lot of times we're benefiting from what our ancestors did. Now, a lot of the sacrifices they made in their lifetime were for the future generation. So what you said today about planning for 500 years ahead, 10, 1,000 years ahead, it kind of helped me as far as saying, okay, well, what I'm doing today isn't just about me today. It's about what's going to happen for future generations. And it's about the 500-year mark, right? What I want to happen in 100 years, 200 years, 300 years. Okay, so I kind of had, thank you for that, because I'm like, okay, well, maybe I could see the bigger picture as far as not just looking at, they died and they didn't get to live their life, but they died and the future generations benefited from them dying. But I still feel like, wow, they died and they didn't get to live their life. Would you say that it is our destiny as leaders to die for this? Do you think it is a necessary thing that they must be sacrificed, or that they have to sacrifice all, sit there and not have money, beg their community to buy their books? Is that a necessary thing, or should there be some type of reciprocity for those people who come and really, like John Henry Clark, Baba? I remember when Dr. Ben passed away, they were asking for us just to donate toiletries for him, to where he was staying, things that were like that. Do you think that it's a necessary thing that we sacrifice ourselves, or should there be some boundaries, or that we as teachers, leaders, and people who do fight for the Black community and work so hard as you are doing, bringing all of this amazing information, you spent your whole lifetime piecing this together for your community, do you think it's a necessary thing to sacrifice yourself? Do you think that there should be some type of reward? And do what do you think about that?
What a wonderful, complex question. There was something that hit me early on during your question, and this may be controversial. Men and women are essentially different. Biologically, psychologically, mentally, culturally. On one level, woman produces 1 to 2 viable eggs for conception per month. During that same month, a man may produce 200 to 400 million sperm cells. So ultimately, that equates to, when it comes to survival of the species, women are much more critical towards survival than are men. Men are, to some degree, because of that biological, are replaceable. This is why men in all civilizations, young men especially, carry the spear.
Yeah, good.
It is a degenerate society that has women carrying the spear, unless that society is so threatened, as in the case of Queen Ashanti-Wa, Queen Nzinga, Hatshepsut, and others, that the civilization is so threatened that the women say, if they take out our men, they will then have to come through us before they can get to our babies and our future. So therefore, based upon your question, as a man, I have acknowledged and accepted the fact that I am prepared to sacrifice everything for that 500-year destiny. I am, as a man, prepared to sacrifice my very life so that my daughters can thrive, my wife at the time could thrive, to bear the generations that will carry our memory forward. Well, as a nature of woman is to, she's got to preserve herself because she carries the womb. And the womb is greater than I am. Let me be real clear about that. I don't want to die. I have no martyr syndrome welling up in me, but I've been friends and associates with many, many courageous men and courageous women. And by and large, Ishaka Musa Barashango, Del Jones, Kwame Ture, Dr. Ben, Dr. Clark, and many others that I have known, Dr. Sabi, Dr. Africa. We didn't have death wishes, but we realized that to completely fight the struggle to full competition, meaning we would have to go up against people who had a long history of absolute aggression, murderous torture. I have been up against the FBI and the CIA and others who wanted me destroyed. And I still am going up against the corporations who want me destroyed. They want me to live in absolute critical poverty to the point that literally going to the grocery store and knowing I have only $9.35 to spend. And you go down the aisles very carefully saying, how can I eat for 4 days on $9.35? I've done that. I've done that multiple times. I would not recommend that for any female to ever experience that. In fact, I will go for 3-4 days so that the females can eat. So we're talking about a biological imperative, and the two sides of your question were joined together. So the nature of self-sacrifice is different for men than it is for women. Men must be prepared, and King Pianki, I know you know this to be true. We must be prepared, especially the younger men under the command of the older men must be prepared to carry that spear. And if the older wise man determined that we've got to send 20 of our young men into the heart of that beast and strike that beast at his heart, knowing that not 20 will come back, that's a decision that must be made so that the village can survive, so that the women can survive, so the another generation of children can be born to carry those names forward. And the second part of your question, talking about mental illness that many of us go through while working so hard to get our collective people to act rationally, that is true. The mental illness can be a big problem. I have seen some of our scholars, whose names will be unmentioned, sacrifice their own stability to substance abuse, to alcohol, to drugs, sex abuse, and other self-medication processes, self-satiation processes that they knew were wrong, but they did it because they were suffering from depression, anxiety, and mental illness brought upon by revolutionary burnout. I have experienced revolutionary burnout multiple times a year at times in my life. You wake up and you go to bed at night saying, I don't think I can do that anymore tomorrow. You'll wake up in the morning with a fresh idea. This will liberate my people today. So yes, to everything you said, there should be some means of compensation. There should be a fund like other nationalities do. They fund their scholarships and their academics. They create think tanks where the best thinkers are rewarded. If not direct compensation, they're rewarded with book deals. There's no way in the world an author of 53 books should not have been offered a book deal or at least some support by Black philanthropic millionaires. But that's the reality I live with. Right. And I've accepted that, and I will not put down the spear. The pen is mightier than the sword.
Well, definitely give out your book information tonight and give them your website for anybody who's listening who may be interested. You have a lot of great information, Baba. And, you know, I'm getting into a more mature age, and I just can see what we're really getting into. You know, this is not something to romanticize about.
That's right.
It's real.
Okay, I'm typing that in the chat right now. Keidi, KEIDI.biz. And that will be up here very shortly. And I do appreciate your outreach and your gesture and reminding me. Dick Gregory used to tell me, he said, brother, I love the way you speak and this and that, but you don't spend enough time promoting and selling them books. Dick Gregory was a big fan of the Conscious Rasta Report. And so in honor of Baba Dick Gregory, let's sell some books. Let's see if we can convince everybody listening today to try at least one. Some of my books are only $10. If you like the e-books or the Kindle books, or even less than that. But I think that these books are well written. and will go a long way to get us all on target. Each one of us, everyone in this circle, everyone in our extended circle, we're born with sets of gifts and talents, resources, assets that can be drawn together to build the most glorious Kujichagulia villages the world has known since we were building Timbuktu, since we were building great empires, since we built the world's first great and lasting civilization in Kemet. That's who we are. That's what we do. So Keidi Obi, no, not Keidi Obi, Keidi, KEIDI.biz, Conscious Rasta Press, C2012 is my website. I typed that up. It is in the chat right now. And for this group, you buy a book, I'll send you a second book once I get your email address that I think you're going to really love that complements the first book that you bought. So 2 for 1. The second book will be an ebook download, which you'll get instantly in case you're ordering a paperback. You can also find 45, I think 46 of my books are available on Amazon.com.
Wow.
Thank you, Bubba.
You the truth, Brary. Thank you very much. You answering the questions and you really pricking our level of consciousness. So, does anybody else? I think Rastafari Mike had his hand up. Did you want to have another question?
Yeah, please. I love these questions. This is such an enlightened, well-shepherded group, and I see great potential in the collaboration expected to follow this and so many other conversations with the masters.
Indeed.
Yes.
Did you have another question, Rastafari?
Yeah, I just had one
Yes, please.
one question. Yeah, I was just wondering. We have a system right now, and we have. All right, my question is, how do I get people literate through? I mean, as of right now, I'm an English teacher as well, so I'm wondering, how do I get people into the spirit of reading? Because it's like they don't want to read the information to become sound. So it's just like the ebook, the audio book that's been getting off, those work. So I'm just wondering, like for the people that need to read, to hold the book in their hand, like the elders that's not as technology. Yeah, I want to know, should I be approaching them from a level of teaching them how to read, which it seems to insult them at certain times, because most of them they can't read the material. The words are too big, or the terminology escapes them, and they don't understand the index and going into glossary and into dictionary. Do I go into it from an English teacher's perspective, or do I go into it from a revolutionary? It's like, or do I merge the two? Let me know, Doc. Let me know.
All of the above. Earlier, I said you are a bridge builder. You understand what I mean when I say bridge builder? That means we meet them where they are and build the bridge to where their destiny lies, their fulfillment lies. And I completely agree with you that this issue of collapsing literacy amongst African people in America, and it's not just people who can't read. You have a significant percentage of college graduates that say a year after graduating college, they have not read one book since they graduated. And that is, unfortunately, what are they going to do to teach their children the high value of literacy? I was very fortunate. I had my mother at age 16 was in college. Unfortunately, she only lasted a year before pregnancy pulled her out. But when she was in her first year of college at age 16, she was completing term papers and graduation papers for people who were about to graduate from that college. So when she came and she educated us at home, I was reading my father's college textbooks before entering the first grade. And that's a very proud moment. I was teaching myself to speak French out of my father's college textbooks, so that by the time I entered elementary school, I had some fundamentals of French. With our 3 daughters, by the time they entered elementary school, they spoke and listened and sang in 3 languages. So the human mind is an amazing thing. So build the bridges. Here's one thing that I would recommend. If I were young now and starting off in communications, you can grab these tools. You can get a book, an ebook, or you can write whatever you want to blog. You can get a artificial voice to read that. You pick out the voice that you want, and you can just get a collective, whatever's been written, get a collection of images that are centered around all of the themes in what you want to educate. And you can push all these three together. And now using AI tools, you can merge them all and put together short films, short documentaries. In the course of, you could do 2 of these a day, 20 minutes long. That's bridge building. In the short documentary, you can have the captions along with the images, along with a voice. In that way, you're capturing 3 separate parts of their memory and retention and their logic at once. Here's one thing you're up against, though. One thing we're up against in attempting to communicate the better pathway to our people is that their brains are fogged and clouded by toxic poisons, mercury, lead, cadmium, excessive iron. Their brains are clogged by excessive fat, excessive sugar in the diet, interfering with the hippocampus, the center of memory and learning. You see it in the classroom. These children come into the classroom in the morning, they're eating all these sugary cereals and allergy-producing milk, and stop on the way to school and drink 1 or 2 sodas. By the time they get to school, their attention deficit hyperactivity, and after noon, they fall asleep because they have a sugar crash. Well, we're smart now. We know how to push through all of those things. Why? Because that's the work we do. That's the studies we do. Get my book, Mind Control, and fight through all of that opposition from the corrupted environment. But you know something, Mike, I can tell by the very questions that you ask that you are a conqueror. You are the carrier of the spear. You are the vanguard. So brother, build them bridges and get your victories in and bring those victories back to the village that we intend to build, so that incorporating your victories into the strategic planning for the Kujichagulia Villages is absolutely imperative to the success of our strategic plan. We're going to build these villages. We're going to put in the villages housing for up to 80 people. And guess what? We're going to build our own houses. If you look at the background of the image that I have up, that's an example of what our houses are going to look like. Kujichagulia Villages.
I'm bringing the whole New Orleans, bro. They coming with me.
I say, yo.
Asheo.
Asheo to that. Yes. Anybody else have any? Thank you for that wonderful response and wonderful commentary, wonderful question, wonderful way of executing question as well. Anybody else have any question, comments, or observances for the one and only Baba Keidi Awadu? And remember, look in the chat box. We can get his information and purchase a book. It's definitely life-changing. A Truth Berry. I got a few of them right here. I got a lot more in my Truth Berry. So definitely, family. You know, I can tell we got a true master on the call today. So
yeah, let's see if we can get 1 or 2 people who haven't said a word to step up, speak up. This is all about action. And I know Sister Kashana and King Pianki have prepared this collective to be action-oriented and not to be passively sitting around the walls waiting for other people to always take responsibility for acts on the part of the group. We can do better than that.
Yeah, where would this be? All right, they got a question in the chat box. Hold on 1 second. Maybe you can read it. I can read it, or you can read it. Latia Bryce.
Yeah.
It's B.
Can you read the question?
Yeah. Where would this be? I think she's talking about your plan. What you're talking about, the Kujichagulia plan.
Kujichagulia Villages. Starting in 2008, we took on this project. That was the first round of Kujichagulia Villages. We had secured 4 properties inside the United States and 3 on the African continent. Now we have the potential to return to at least 3 of these domestic properties. The fourth one is the people have left America, and I don't know what became the status of their farm or who's in control of the 74 acres that we were building on in Colfax, Louisiana. We were building on 40 acres in Pembroke Township, south of Chicago, at the Black Oaks Center for Sustainable Development. We were building at the Oyotunji African Village in South Carolina, 40 acres there, the first African kingdom on U.S. soil. And our most successful project, most engaging project, was at Khalifa's Kujichagulia Village on 123 acres, which was in Druryville, Virginia, literally the land where Nat Turner was born and raised. He leads the Nat Turner tour of the land there. So we were building these villages. We had quite a bit of momentum, but unfortunately, Facebook came along, and our social media group we called Living in Black, which had 8,400 members at its peak, just kind of dissipated. Everybody left us for Mark Zuckerberg.
Oh, wow.
So we're back again. And now I'm talking to people domestically. We have people who have land offering up the land, but there's a complementary mentality that must go with it. We're not just going to come in, put a bunch of money into other people's land, turn our backs, and come back 6 months later and see that all of our work has gone fallow, as they wouldn't even weed the gardens and the orchards that we planted at some of these locations. More importantly, now we're building on the African continent, and I can promise you, when we build on the African continent, they do not neglect it. They do not allow it to go fallow again because they're just too lazy to weed the gardens. These beautiful raised bed gardens we put in come back a year later, and it's just a grass and weed patch. That's unacceptable. So building on the African continent, there's a different value set there. People will take care of what we come in to build. We just got to make sure that we get there as soon as possible, because we are competing against the Chinese, competing against the European Union, competing against Singapore, South Korea, Japan, India, and the Arabs, especially Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates. We are in open game theory competition against them for our African land and our African future and our African population, our human capital. We're going to have to step up our game. We'd be best to step up our game by practicing everything we're going to be successful at in Africa. We got to build it here, which is why we want to build these Kujichagulia villages here. The first place that I would like to start building these again would be on the Nat Turner properties in Western Virginia.
Okay.
And it takes a lot of money. In the short run, we need to raise $16,500 to set up the business. So the next time we build these Kujichagulia villages, we won't just have to walk away from them. This time we'll have the business set up and the legal processes, so everything we build will last.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. It's a brilliant, wonderful question. Love hearing your voice. Did you have any response? What skills? Let me ask you this, Latrice, or Latia, excuse me. Let me ask you this. I'm sorry, pronounce the name?
It's Latia.
Latia, beautiful name. I'm sure you are a beautiful sister whose camera don't work today. But what skills?
I had my...
What skills, what talents, what arts, what practices do you anticipate you'll be bringing to the village that are going to make our endeavor much more successful?
Well, I actually do want to get into real estate, but I'm all about community and building for us, because that's exactly what we need. I guess I'll turn my camera on, even though I kind of didn't want to be seen. Hello.
You're too beautiful to not want to be seen, beloved, even though you are wearing your pajamas.
Yes, thank you. I'm all for that. So I like to get information about things like this.
Good.
And I would love to have my own garden one day. It's been a dream for a long time. So,
you know, I'm a master gardener, and I've taught dozens and dozens of people master organic gardening, and I would love to be your instructor as well. There is the book. The book is called Kujichagulia Villages, A Practical Plan for Self-Determination. The book is only $10, and you can get that at the website I linked to in the chat, keidi.biz. And the book has 110 ideas for economic development to take place in the villages once we get them up. And there's some brilliant, very practical ideas, very practical. And the beautiful thing about it is on nearly every one of these 110 practical economic development ideas, I've already done most of them. But now we need to do them together.
Yes, absolutely. I agree. Thank you so much.
Thank you for brilliant questions.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Latia, for that wonderful commentary. We got about 10 minutes, family, or 11 minutes. Anybody else have any questions for Baba Keidi Awadu? You know, he's coming with some great information, great knowledge, you dig?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, you know what? Before somebody get on there, you know, the literacy part, I think is very apropos. I think it's very important. I like what Rastafarian might add to the equation of this dialogue, right? And I
That's
think
right.
he can really help out with the young youth. And I think he's doing it. Like you said, he definitely has the answers. But I would advise most of these individuals, youth, they rap. They into some form of music. So what my contingency is, I know what got me into reading was really Tupac Shakur, you know.
Mm-hmm.
He really got me into reading. You know, my favorite rapper of all time, everybody knows that. And him being a very avid reader, you know, not only was he, you know, kind of had an aggressive personality, not only was he charismatic, not only was he, you know, definitely strong in his revolutionary stance, but he was also a voracious and very, what we call, avid reader. And somebody who was not, I'm not gonna say look studious, but someone who didn't look studious, but someone who was like down with us and being able to prick our level of consciousness, saying, I read, it kind of sparked something in me. I do believe it's his last interview. Well, one of his last interviews on Vibe, when a lady asked him, are you into books? You read books? He said, I read a lot. I really love books. And he was saying that he read on a lot of things, diversity of things, but he read on what made generals and what built nations, because he had that mind wanted to rule the nation, you know. So that really sparked me to read. And what I would advise is that with these young men or women, whoever, if they have some like reading comprehension, maybe don't really know the true tangibles of reading, you know, obviously we're not here to embarrass them. We're not here to really make them feel diminished to some degree. I will say that have them, like you said, to some degree, get some words. Go old school. I'm saying go old school. Get like 3 words that they can read, but kind of prick their comprehension, can prick they neurons in their brain. Get them 3 words and have them use the word definitions, put the words in a sentence, learn the word, the concept, break it down, in every 3 words every week, you know, dig, and see about stimulating their mind that way, and have them read something or give them terms that they like, but it's going to be challenging. All right, MC, give them the 5 elements of MC, the 5 elements of hip hop. Tell them look up MC, what it represents, not just from MC master ceremony perspective, but from MC EMCEE DJ. Look up those terms. B-boy and the breakdance, have them look up those terms, you know, because most of these people that rap, the youngsters don't know about the 5 or 9 elements of hip hop. Have them learn those 3 terminologies, learn, get a definition, comprehend it, register it, and then be able to give it back to you, you know, and then you bridge, like you say, bridge it and extend that bridge along the way. So like what Khalid Muhammad teaches, right? In order to teach the people, you must reach the people. That's not just for us talking to brothers and sisters on the street. That's for classroom setting. And another thing, I'll quote another great ancestor, and it's really helped me out in my teachings, Baba John Henry Clark. And he said this, and you do this very well too, Baba Keidi. He said he wasn't for this in the beginning. I guess someone told him you need to be like an entertainer when you're teaching. And he kind of like shrung him off, like, no. It's time to be serious. You ain't kind of time to play. I ain't time to step and fetch it. I ain't got time to man tell him all. We got to be serious. I got drilling in him. But he realized something. He had a teacher back in the day. Studied John Henry Clark, you know what I'm talking about. His 5th grade teacher, Miss Taylor. And in every class, every time she had throughout every classroom session, I should say it like that. Every classroom session, she would always start staggering in front of the classroom. And she would say to little John Henry Clark and the other students in the classroom, when you see a man walking like this, what is he? That's a drunk, Miss Taylor. That's a drunk. And what he did was, because she not only would it was her husband who left her, who abandoned her. You know, I mean, that was a
Mm-hmm.
drunk left her. What she was doing was, when she got their attention, she would start drilling them with words and adverbs and underline a word and say, "What's the word?" And they said, "That's an adverb." Underline another word, that's an adjective. Underline another word, that's a noun. She would drill it, but she had to get their attention by staggering across the classroom, you know? And when John Henry Clark thought about that, he started to do it, not to that extent, but he started to use entertainment processes. And he said, in order to be a great teacher, you must be a great entertainer. You got to get the audience attention, then you can prove your philosophical and ideological point of view. And I think that's one of the negatives, I would say, with some of the African-centered teachers, is that they want to give so much information, give a lot of vigor, but not really giving the rigor, not really giving the intent on how to give out that conceptualization or content of what they want to teach. So I would do that. I would give them 3 words that's challenging, but not too far out of their reach, and have them come back to you on learn those words and put them into a comprehensive sense of how those words identify with them. That's all. That's what I got.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We learn from the masters who have preceded us. As I frequently say, as we reach for the stars, we always remember that we stand upon the shoulders of giants, just as you stand upon the shoulders of our beloved ancestor, Khalid Abdul Muhammad. He stood upon the shoulders of our beloved ancestor, John Henry Clark, who has instructed. He stood upon the shoulders of his 5th grade teachers. Now, our shoulders are higher than they've ever been, and we raise ourselves up strong to lift up the next generation standing upon our shoulders as well.
And I definitely echo your sentiments on that. And yeah, so this is discipline, family. You get group discipline. Hey, Baba Keidi, I need those 7 strategies. I don't know how we can do that. The 7 strategies.
I can paste those in the chat for right now. You can just copy, cut, and paste those. And let me grab that from the end of the PowerPoint.
Yeah, because you guys really, I'm gonna study that. Like I studied Reverend Damadi's breakdown on discipline, his freedom last week. I'm gonna do study your thing, and that's be my assignment to really and step up my game when it comes to group discipline, because it's very needed. You know, and like you said, we gotta be more disciplined than the next generation, and that's gonna be a task, because you must realize something. You have Malcolm X, and he's one of the most disciplined men to ever walk the face of this earth. You have Marcus Garvey. We had John Coltrane, the most disciplined probably musician to ever walk the face of this earth. So let's get some system there. We had some Ida B. Wells Barnett, who was an audacious journalist. She was extremely disciplined. You know, you had even people who was illiterate. Fannie Lou Hamer, the Honorable Harriet Tubman. These individuals are extremely disciplined. So we got a lot of work to do as it relates to being more disciplined than those great ancestors who was the epitome of discipline. Jesse Owens, even sports athletes, literacy, the list goes on. Barbara Seymour, Chelsea McIntyre, it's Marvin Collins. We have it. So we got a lot to work on. But anyway, it can be done.
I say, yo.
Any closing comments before we adjourn?
In closing, I want to go back to that idea of the game theory, that we are Team A. We have declared ourselves to be the alpha team, the alpha male, the alpha team, the big up manhood. And until the alpha team shows up, the hyenas all thought that they were the alpha males. You remember that one? Mm-hmm. Well, we're shown up now. We realize the game is going on. We realize we're not just competing against one highly organized team. We are competing against multiple highly organized teams. And ours is what is the prize on the table. It reminds me of a TV commercial of, I think, was it Bird? What's the basketball player's name? Larry Bird, competing against Magic Johnson or someone else. And the prize of the competition was Magic Johnson's burger or soda or whatever. Well, this is the real world. The biggest prize on the planet is who will control Africa, its people, and its natural resources to dominate the world economic hegemony for the next 500 years and more. We got to now start to break this down into actionable plans. In the next 3 years, There will be a brand new nation born on the continent. I didn't talk about it today, but I've often talked about the East African Federation. A new superpower state is coming into being, will be inaugurated within 3 years, the East Africa Federation. I'm planning on moving there and raising a new round of children there. We got to start planning for this decade. We got to start planning to the year 2051, when it is expected that the African Union will federalize and 55 nations, even though 8 or 10 of them are now combining into one, will all form together one massive continental union called the African Union, which will be the biggest empire ever created in world history. Wow. Many of you in this conversation will be alive in 2051. I'm going to be here. My plan is to not only last that, but to see that one 25 years into the future after that, before I even think about leaving. So that's what we are to do. Now, what are we going to build for that nation? What are we going to create? Some of us are going to create digital means of education, remote learning. Some of us will be pioneers in health and wellness. Some of us will be builders of institutions and economic institutions, small, medium-sized enterprises. Some of us will be growing food. Some of us will be growing renewable energy crops like hemp and flax and bamboo and banana. You know, they're now talking about making women's hair extensions out of pineapple and banana discards. Well, why are we not pioneering that? We in this country seem to be spending a lot of money on hair extensions. Why are we not collaborating with the University of Makerere, or Makerere University in Kampala, Uganda, where they're working on making women's hair extensions out of natural biodegradable materials that do not poison the women who use them? We got everywhere we can be building, everywhere we can be developing. We've got skills, we got talents. Now we've got the plan. Kujichagulia Villages. Let's get ready to rumble. We're in it to win it.
Thank you, Baba Keidi, for those wonderful words. Thank you for being a part of this wonderful program. Always a pleasure having you. We always learn something new whenever I talk with you, whenever I discuss any type of dialogue with you or engage in such a great conversation. So thank you for being a part of this program. Family, as you do know, this is a group session and this is donation based. So you see, we had great content today. We had a great master teachers on. So you can send your donations to this program through our many apps. You can go through my Cash App or my wife's Cash App, which is $Pianki, $Pianky. It's going to say William. No, I think my wife says William. Or my wife's Koshana, Koshana, before that. And my wife put it in the chat box. Or you can go through our Zelle number that is affiliated with that. Is area code 661-718-7502. Or Zelle again, 323, another number, 901-1745. We appreciate you guys' energy. We appreciate you guys bringing your greatness to the table and your support, and we definitely see the greatness in you guys. And once again, Baba Keidi Awadu, thank you for being a part of this illustrious program. Thank you all for being a part of this program. From Latia, Jasmine Purifoy, Queen, Sister Janelle, and Young King